Hi, my name is Eva Steiner, and this is my project Psychotherapists Around the Globe. I am interviewing the psychotherapists around the world and asking them the same 8 questions. I am wondering how mental health profession is in their country. Today we are going to. So, thank you for taking this time today for the interview. Before we start, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Okay, hello everyone. Hello Eva. My name is Dianda Azani. I'm a psychologist from Indonesia. Currently, I'm doing as a psychologist. I do practice for children, teenagers, and also adults. I also teach as a lecturer in one of the college in here.
So tell me a little bit about your culture. What is some holiday or tradition that your country celebrates? And if your culture would be an emotion, what emotion would it be?
Okay, so Indonesia is an archipelago country, so we have a lot of island in here, and also we also have a lot of different kind of cultures. Yeah, there's thousands of different languages. There's so many backgrounds, and heritage. So the holidays or traditions, it's different parts from each of the country's island. There's usually a traditional, more like cultural background kind of holidays, and also religious kind of holidays, and then there's some kind of mixture between both two. So for example, like when Islamic holiday, we have Idul Fitri. In Java Island, they do it as they do like many people go into the road, and then they give a lot of food, and then there's a lot of music also. So it's more like a festival, yeah. So it blends in between religious ways and then also the cultural backgrounds. So
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of different kind of things. So I would like to choose if it's emotion. I think festive is the right emotion.
Mm-hmm. Can you elaborate? Can you explain why?
So because the differences is so wide, yeah, the variety is so wide. They have like in Medan, for example, in Sumatra Island, they do like dancing kind of things, yeah. And then in Java, it's more like more religious things, yeah. So they do like fasting, and then they come to other relatives' house, and then they do family gathering, and then they go abroad and explore other island to go to see extended families also. In Bali and then more eastern, yeah, they do a lot of community festival, yeah, on holidays, like um, for example, Nyepi, yeah, so they get in their houses, and then they stay still. They don't do anything. But then before the Nyepi and after the Nyepi, there's a lot of festival. They go to the road, and then they show people how they create like a statue for their goddess. They have a lot of gods there. So it's more like a festival when we celebrate our culture, and then we celebrate also our religions holidays. Yeah. So there's a lot
Mm.
of community-based activities.
Sounds great. How did you become a psychotherapist in your country, and what is your therapeutic approach?
I'm becoming psychotherapist. First, I go to the college. I
Mhm.
pursue my bachelor degree as a psychology bachelor, and then after that, I actually have a few years absence in the academic area. I go to master psychology, and then I choose one of the interests in the few fields of psychology in Indonesia, and then after that, I have the ability to do to make interventions, to give treatments, yeah, and then give counselings, etc. But in a therapy, in a therapy way, I go through like I choose some of the approach that I think suits best with for me, and then I do some workshops, yeah, and then I go to more further educations, like I pursue CBT, yeah. So I
Mhm.
learn CBT, and then I'm doing supervision for to get certification in CBT therapy. So in Indonesia, we usually do first is the academic phase, yeah. So becoming a psychologist first, and then we pursue other kinds of treatment and approach using maybe seminars, maybe workshops, yeah. And then we usually do like eclectic approach. So in our more personal touch, yeah. And then for getting more professionals, yeah, so we go through the certification. Hope that
Mhm.
answer.
Yeah. And what are some popular workshops?
Popular workshops, interesting. So CBT one of the popular ones, and then we also have EMDR in here, yeah,
Mhm.
for trauma based, and then they also have logotherapy,
Mhm.
play therapy. Play therapy includes like theraplay, and also have floor time therapy for children's.
Eh,
Hypnotherapy, of course.
Hypnotherapy. Okay. And when you finish bachelor in psychology, which direction can you choose? Or you just go to master of psychology?
To be able to give treatments, intervention, or also diagnosis, yeah, to open up our own practice, we have to go through the master degree to be a practitioner.
Mhm.
But after that, we can choose many approaches that we want to go through, yeah, and then not
Mhm.
only one. We can choose many of them. But the certification process is not under the or a psychology organization in Indonesia. So it's not really related to the academic title, yeah.
Mhm.
So it's more like a free thing, so we can explore many things.
Mm. So it's not like, because for example, in Slovenia, you have Bachelor of Psychology, and then you can go clinical psychology, organizational psychology, school psychology. It's not like that in Indonesia.
It's like that in terms of the academic title. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
um, this is now Indonesia is now in a phase of making the regulations better. Yeah, so they're now doing more in curriculum for the clinical psychologists, for educational psychologists. Yeah, because now we are almost always like sorry general psychologists. Yeah, we are
Mm-hmm.
now general psychologists with interest in one area. So we're not like a specialist now yet. Yeah. So to become a psychotherapist, it's different kind of things. It's outside from the title. So even if we do clinical psychologists, we are not in incompetence to do psychotherapy if we don't get more education about psychotherapy in certain approach.
So here in Indonesia, at the Faculty of Psychology, when we took like a master degree of psychology, we were taught to have certain approaches to do intervention in psychological problems. Yeah, of course, with also the assessments, and then we do diagnosis also. And then we are taught to have like certain approaches. So in one semesters or so, we learn CBT, and then also play therapy, and also maybe a few sensory-based approach. And this is different in between institutions, yeah, like a university. One university maybe give a whole package of CBT trainings, and then other university maybe focus on play therapy. So they give a different kind of approaches. Yeah. So the member or the graduate psychologist from this university able to do intervention or psychotherapy, yeah, with the approach. But it is like the teaching of the approach, and not like training with certifications. Yeah, so they don't do some kind of coordination or with other kind of institution, then give the certification as a certified CBT therapist or certified play therapist, but they are able to do psychotherapy, and then they also have the capacity, and then they are allowed to do psychotherapy also.
Yeah, and can you become a psychotherapist without psychological education?
Without psychological education, actually, we do have a lot of practitioners in mental health that is outside of the Faculty of Psychology. So they are going through the workshops, and then they get the certifications before, while not getting any psychology degree. So it's a common thing. But in the other side, the governments here don't really have the clear regulation about therapy or treatment in mental health. So there's something that below the health department, but it's not really clear about how we as a nation put them in a certain position. So yeah, we can do that.
Okay. How society looks upon psychotherapy or any psychological help?
Okay. Actually, in Indonesia, there's a lot of mixture also. For the society that is more educated, yeah, they know that they can go to a psychologist, and then they can go almost like to the hospital. You can meet also psychologists there, and there's a lot of clinical for child and teenagers, yeah. So they tend to go there to get a professional help. But for the society that I'm gonna say not that close connection with the education about this, yeah. So they actually go to more we call as more local helpers, yeah. So they help with some of them use religious approach, yeah. Some of them use cultural approach, yeah. So not really connected with the psychology, but yeah, we still do that. They still tend to believe more on that for some of the society. But for modern kind of society, it's they also already rely on the psychologist. So for the more modern societies, I think they also already trust us, yeah, trust the academical psychology, and then but there are also like part of them, I think there still is some stigma in the society that they go to psychologists. That means they have a problems, etc. Yeah, so it's still become one of the cause that they don't go to psychologists earlier in the process.
Can you explain more about what kind of stigma they have, or what kind of stigma do you witness?
One of the stigma is like when we have problems in our mental health, it means that we don't have enough faith in our religion. So because the religion in Indonesia is such a foundational basis of beliefs, yeah. So how they see themselves in a religion part is a big thing. And then they also think like sometimes they also, it feels like they have certain guilt feelings in the family's sides, yeah. So it means like if they have problems, then it means like the family is not good enough for them. So and then the other type is like of course having a mental health is nearer to crazy, yeah. So they don't really want other people know, and then think like they have a lot of issue, and then it means that they are weak, etc., etc.
Interesting. What is your society teaching about the child-parent relationship, and whether the values of society also affect how the therapists design the interventions?
Okay, in more traditional backgrounds, yeah, a parent-child relationship in Indonesia is more conservative, yeah. So the children need to obey the parents, and then they have a certain task to do. And then also parents will choose the path for their children. Yeah, so the obey is something that they need to see in their children as some kind of respect of the parents. Yeah, but more modern kind of society again now is more moderate in this kind of things. They get open more with their children, and then they ask more their opinions, and then the interaction become more warm. Yeah, so it's not really that kind of conservative, and then they also have got a lot of conversations happening in a parent-child relationship. So interventions approach is actually based um, uh, so much in the cultural backgrounds. Yeah, if we do it in Jakarta, Jakarta is the capital of Indonesia. Yeah, so it's more modern society there. But if we do it on like Sumatra or even Java, Java is outside Jakarta. The traditional beliefs is so strong, so we can see how parents see themselves in the family, and then which one of more dominates in the family system. So the intervention should consider that, and then when we want to approach the parents, we should like see whether we go through the mother first, or we can talk to the extended family, and so we go through like family therapy first before going to the father, because it's more dominant. Yeah. Or in the more dominant society, we do directly to the parents. So we do sessions with the parents, and then we explain the problems, and then we can go through like parent session, child session, and then we mix between.
And what if adult client would say, I don't want to be in touch with my parents anymore? What would be the intervention there? How would you approach?
So if it's adult, we do the personal sessions with the adults. Yeah, so individual session. If they have this kind of perception about the family, we don't go through the family unless if there's something emergency happens, right? But if they stand in that kind of position, so in emergency situation, we do ask them who's the closest one that we can approach, whether it's friends or whether it's someone near where they live. Yeah, spouses or something. Yeah, but we don't touch the parents.
Okay. What are the learned beliefs regarding client-therapist relationship? And can the relationship continue outside the therapy once the therapy process is over?
Regarding the relationship, yeah, between the therapist and the clients, what I experience after the therapy session is over, sometimes they do contact us a few times, yeah, to ask some kind of things related to their problems. So I think they still see us as someone that can help, and then someone that they can rely on, yeah, related to the problems, the psychological problems that they have. So, and then the other kind of relationship, they come back and ask for other kind of services outside the therapy sessions, like maybe going approach to the school or to the other family that they have issues on. Yeah. So I think the relationship will keep as a professional relationship because they have this tendency to rely on us. Yeah. And then I think the possibility to get out of the professional relationship is minimum for me, for my experience.
Yeah. And do you have any psychological entity or body that take care of abuse in client therapist relationship?
We do have a psychological organization. We call it HIMSI, Himpunan Psikologi Indonesia. So it's still in the process of making the better regulation than before, yeah. So they can call the HIMSI and then say like they have this bad relationship with the therapist, but and then the HIMSI will contacted us and then do more research intervention, yeah. But the regulation is not yet built as a firm regulation. Now they're still exploring, and then they're still doing more legal process, yeah. So it's not a legal process yet right now, yeah. So they still in the process. So no, not really firm about that, I think.
And is like right now this is happening? They are trying to make better rules, or it's like just in the process that it can happen in 10 years?
Right now, we are doing the rules right now. So hopefully within 1-2 years, it's already we already have the more firm rules.
Okay. Sixth question, is supervision a must for the therapist in your country?
Supervision is not really requirements, yeah. It's not really required, but for us to be able to do a lot of cases, we do want to develop ourselves, but it's more like personal choices for us. There's not yet a regulation about that, yeah. For psychologist education in Indonesia, they do have like a practice time for about a half year, and then after that they can go approach to more senior psychologists, but it's not yet a regulation. So it's not a requirements yet. Yeah, to get more like certification in workshop, I think that's outside the regulation of Indonesian psychologists, yeah.
And what are the most common complaints the client comes to therapy for?
The common complaints right now is for adults, I think depression and anxiety. And for children's problems is more like sensory motor based, yeah. Learning problems and social interaction problems, yeah. After the COVID and pandemic era, we do have increased cases in the way children interaction socially. They have more social anxiety, and then they have more conflicts in the social interaction, and then also they have more problems in learning, yeah. And like I said, sensory motor areas.
Yep. And adults, you said anxiety and depression. Can you explain more?
Depression and anxiety. So for a lot of cases also it includes the social anxiety, but now people tend to have lower kind of moods, yeah. So they don't really have motivation on do things, and then they don't really enjoy activities, and then they have things like hard to find hobbies, etc., yeah. So a lot of people that come is having, I think, more of depression or anxiety. The anxiety also in a way that they cope with the new situation after the pandemic. So they have like these rules that they want to fulfill, yeah. And then the depression, I think it's also affected by pandemic, yeah, because a lot of things changes, and then a lot of things that they lost in the pandemic times. They lost the job, and then family members, and then they have different kind of life right now in terms of everyday situations, yeah. So those two things is the common thing, that even though they came with a certain conflict, or they came because the up and down mood, yeah, but after the assessment, after the session anamnesis, yeah, so they actually go through like depression or anxiety.
And before the pandemic, do you maybe know what was the most common complaint then?
More of a social relationship conflict.
Mhm.
Yeah, not really not really clear or not really um, clear indication of they have a depression or anxiety, but more of a conflict. So right now we can see like how the nuance or the things that they feel, it's more closer to depression rather that they have a conflict. But before they have a conflict that they have to solve, yeah. But in the mood area, they don't really have a problem.
Interesting. Okay, the last question. If you would share one tool, belief, or approach that is a must-have for you as a therapist, what would that be?
One, yeah.
You can
I'll
share
write
more
two
than
in
one
here.
if you want. It's fine. You can share two.
So I think one of the most important thing that I believe that I have is that the clients have their inner strength. Because the inner strength that lead them to find ways to solve the problems, yeah. And then therapy is the therapist is one of person that cross path with them and then give contribution in their journey. But even before and after the therapy session, the inner strength will guide them to solve more problems for them. Yeah, so we just give the contribution and then guide them to maybe the better path that they have. And then I also have the belief that there are many things and many ways that someone can actually heal. Yeah. So in terms of having one approach or a few approaches that I do in my sessions, but I also still explore what kind of things that they find suitable for them to evolve. Yeah, so many things, like even the simpler things like walking to somewhere new or meeting the family members, yeah, or even listening to some kind of music, yeah, but not as an approach of the therapy. I think that's also one of my beliefs, yeah.
But also, I do think that the community is very much helping at how to provide the social support and then activities, and then of course rooms, spaces that they can provide to facilitate and help the clients. What I mean by community support is, of course, the different kinds of activities. As a community, we have like social or communal activities. Like in Indonesia, we have like religious activities. There's a lot of Muslims here, so they pray to the mosque, yeah, like 5 times a day. And then also when the church also usually do like Sunday schools, etc. And then we also have like spaces in the garden, yeah, city park. They do a lot of activities also in there. And then museums also usually do a lot of activities. So people need public spaces that can support them to meet other people and then to get insights. Yeah. One of my values, and I really believe that if we connect between the psychotherapy approach and then we give like certain activities that connect the client with the more various kind of public or community supports, then they will be better adjust, and then the community will be also give strength, yeah, to the person or our clients.
I want to thank you for doing this interview
Okay.
with me. It was really a pleasure for me.
Thank you.
Are you a psychotherapist and want to be a part of my project? Feel free to contact me through my webpage. Thank you for listening.